chosen one, stay with me for a moment and hear this with a steady heart. What I am about to say is not casual, and it is not meant for every passing ear. This message is deliberate, sacred, and time-sensitive in the way only God can arrange. If your path is not rooted in truth, obedience, and spiritual alignment with God, then this will sound strange to you and you should move on. But if you have been praying quietly, if your spirit has been restless, if you have been searching for clarity without knowing how to explain what you feel, then receive this clearly. This message is meeting you on purpose. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now breathe, relax your shoulders, and let your spirit settle, because the first thing you need to understand is this. The confusion you feel about who you are is not proof that something is wrong with you. It may be proof that something sacred is being protected. You have likely spent years feeling like there is more to you than what people can see, and maybe more than you can explain. You move through life with this strange sense that something inside you is awake, but not fully revealed. You notice patterns other people miss. You feel drained by shallow conversations. You carry a seriousness about purpose even when you try to live casually. Sometimes you ask yourself why certain things affect you so deeply. Why certain rooms feel heavy the moment you enter them, why you can sense shifts in people before they speak. And because you cannot always define it, you may have been tempted to call it overthinking, anxiety, or imagination. But I want to gently challenge that tonight. What if part of what you call confusion is not dysfunction, but divine covering? What if the reason you cannot fully see yourself yet is because God in His wisdom has placed a veil over what your human mind is not yet meant to carry in full? This is where many chosen ones become hard on themselves. You assume that if you were truly called, truly chosen, truly walking with God, then everything would be obvious by now. You think clarity should come first and peace should come after. But God often works in the opposite order. He gives peace before explanation. He gives process before unveiling. He gives formation before recognition. And that matters because revelation without maturity can become a burden instead of a blessing. If you knew everything about your spiritual identity, too early, your emotions could be overwhelmed, your ego could become unstable, and your human relationships could become even more difficult than they already are. God is not hiding things from you to punish you. He is covering things within you to preserve you. You need to hear that carefully. The veil is not rejection. The veil is mercy. It is not a locked door to keep you out. It is a guarded chamber to keep what is sacred safe until the right time. In the same way a seed is hidden under soil, before it becomes visible, parts of your identity are hidden while your character grows roots. In the same way a house is not furnished before the foundation is secure, God does not hand you full spiritual awareness before your inner life can hold it with humility. This is why your journey has not followed the timeline you expected. This is why there have been seasons when you felt overlooked, misunderstood, even reduced. Not because your calling is small, but because your capacity is being shaped. And let me say something that may calm the part of you that has been secretly frustrated. You are not behind because you do not fully remember. You are not weak because you still have questions. You are not less chosen because your awareness feels partial. In fact, your partial awareness may be one of the clearest signs that God is handling you carefully. Sacred things are not rushed. Deep things are not dumped on the soul all at once. God reveals in layers because He loves in wisdom. He knows your mind. He knows your history. He knows what you have survived. He knows how much pressure you have carried, just trying to remain kind, faithful, and steady in a world that rewards noise and confusion. He is not careless with a spirit like yours. You may also need to understand that this veil is not only spiritual. It touches your emotions. It touches your psychology. It shows up in the way you were raised, in the disappointments you endured, in the prayers that seemed unanswered, in the relationships that forced you to become stronger than you wanted to be. God has allowed certain forms of hiddenness so that your identity would not be built on applause, fantasy, or human approval. has allowed you to feel your limits so that when revelation comes, you do not worship the revelation. You stay anchored to Him. That is the goal. Not spiritual excitement, not dramatic labels, alignment, stability, obedience, peace. Because the truth is chosen. 1. The spiritual world is not impressed by performance. It recognizes alignment. It responds to obedience. It trusts maturity. And if you have been wondering why your life has required so much patience, so much restraint, so much learning how to be quiet when you wanted answers, this is part of the reason. God is training your inner posture before He expands your inner sight. He is teaching you not to weaponize truth. He is teaching you how to carry weight without needing to announce it. He is teaching you how to remain soft in heart without becoming weak in spirit. These lessons do not always feel powerful when you are living them. Sometimes they feel like delay. Sometimes they feel like silence. But later, you will look back and realize they were protection all along. So when the frustration rises, and it will, do not rush to force meaning out of every sign, every dream, every strange feeling, every delay. Stay grounded, stay prayerful, stay honest. Let God mature your peace before He enlarges your understanding. You do not need to prove that you are chosen by acting like you know everything. You reveal that you are chosen by the way you walk when you do not know everything. Calm under pressure, faithful in process, humble in hiddenness, gentle without surrendering truth. That is spiritual strength. That is the beginning of authority. And this is where we start tonight, not with fear, not with fantasy, but with reassurance. The fact that you cannot fully see who you are yet does not mean you are empty. It may mean you are full, and God is protecting what is full until your life can carry it safely. The veil over your spiritual identity is not your enemy. It is one of the first signs that heaven is handling your story with care. Let that settle into you. Let it take some pressure off your chest. Let it quiet the need to force answers. You are not lost. You are being prepared in hidden ways. And as you continue walking with God, what is covered will be revealed in the right measure, at the right time, with the right peace. As that settles in you, the next thing you need to understand is just as important, and for many chosen ones, it is even harder to accept at first. Forgetting is not always loss. Sometimes forgetting is mercy in motion. Sometimes what feels like spiritual amnesia is actually divine wisdom protecting your focus, your obedience, and your development in this present season. You may think that if you truly carried something significant in the spirit, you would remember it clearly, speak about it easily, and move through life with perfect certainty. But that is not how God often forms people who are meant to walk with depth. He does not always begin with explanation. He often begins with hunger. He allows a holy tension to live in you, not to torment you, but to keep you searching for Him instead of searching for titles. This is why your life may feel filled with fragments. You do not always have complete answers, but you have flashes. A moment of deep knowing you cannot explain. A sudden heaviness around a person who appears kind on the outside. A strange peace in places where others feel fear. A quiet, inner resistance when everyone else is celebrating something that does not sit right with your spirit. These are not random interruptions. These are often the pieces that remain visible while the larger picture is still covered. And if you judge yourself only by what you cannot remember, you may miss the evidence of what is already active in you. The mind may be waiting, but the spirit is not asleep. You have probably noticed this in ordinary moments. You walk into a room and feel a shift before anyone says a word. You listen to someone speak and sense the gap between their tone and their truth. You receive a warning in your spirit and later discover why it mattered. You feel drawn to pray for someone before you know what they are facing. You carry grief that does not seem to belong to the moment and then realize you are sensing something deeper than what is visible. If you have lived through enough of these moments, then you already know something important. Your spirit has been functioning even when your understanding has felt incomplete. The absence of full memory has not stopped the presence of spiritual activity. That matters, because many chosen ones become trapped in a false measurement. You think progress means remembering everything. You think growth means having a dramatic explanation for every inner stirring. You think maturity means never feeling uncertain again. But real maturity often looks quieter than that. It looks like learning to trust what God confirms without rushing to build identity from what He has not yet explained. It looks like honoring the fragments without worshipping them. It looks like staying obedient in the present while heaven unfolds the past and the deeper purpose in layers. You are not meant to build your life on curiosity alone. You are meant to build your life on alignment. And the truth is, if God allowed full remembrance too early, you might become distracted from the very lessons that make remembrance safe. You might chase meaning and ignore discipline. You might seek revelation while neglecting healing. You might become fascinated with who you were or what you carry and lose focus on how you are treating people, how you speak, how you rest, how you obey, how you handle correction, how you manage your emotions when life does not go your way. But God is not interested in giving you information that inflates you while your foundation remains unstable. He would rather let you feel the ache of partial understanding than allow you to carry knowledge without character. That is love, even when it feels slow. So if you have been frustrated by your own inner fog, I want you to consider a gentler interpretation. What if the fog has never meant emptiness? What if it has meant timing? What if the reason you remember in sensations, patterns, and impulses instead of full narratives is because God is teaching you to live by discernment before detail? There is a deep wisdom in that. Details can satisfy the mind, but discernment trains the spirit. Details can make you feel certain, but discernment makes you stay close to God. When He gives you only enough light for obedience, it keeps your heart in relationship, not performance. This is also why you should not despise the small signals. The inner check that tells you not to go, the calm that tells you to stay, the burden to pray, the fatigue after certain conversation, the relief you feel when truth is finally spoken in a room full of masks, the way your body tenses around manipulation even before your mind has caught up. These are not insignificant things. They are often the fingerprints of an active spirit moving beneath a partially veiled identity. Your spiritual life is not measured only by visions, dramatic moments, or language that sounds powerful online. Sometimes it is measured in the quiet, repeatable accuracy of what your spirit recognizes before your logic can explain it. Now, this does not mean you should become fearful, superstitious, or obsessed with assigning spiritual meaning to everything. Stay balanced, stay grounded, stay teachable. Not every feeling is revelation, and not every discomfort is a sign. But when a pattern repeats with clarity, when prayer confirms what discernment sensed, when peace deepens after obedience, that is worth honoring. God is not asking you to become extreme. He is asking you to become attentive. There is a difference. Extremes make people unstable. Attentiveness makes people mature. And mature chosen ones are not the loudest people in the room. They are often the most watchful, the most anchored, and the least impressed by noise. You may also notice that this holy forgetting keeps you humble in a way certainty never could. It keeps you dependent on prayer. It keeps you listening. It keeps you from speaking too quickly about things God has not authorized you to declare. It keeps you from turning your spiritual life into a performance for validation. That humility is not weakness. It is protection. It is also preparation, because when fuller understanding comes, and it will come in the measure God chooses, you will be able to carry it without making it your personality. You will know how to hold revelation with reverence because you learned how to live faithfully when you only had fragments. So do not insult your season by calling it nothing. Do not call yourself empty because you cannot explain everything yet. Look again. You already have evidence. You already have patterns. You already have moments where your spirit moved ahead of your mind. You already have times when God protected you through an inner warning you almost ignored. You already have moments of unexplainable peace, sudden clarity, and quiet conviction that changed your choices. These are not accidents. These are traces. These are signals. These are reminders that your spirit is active even while your memory is being managed by divine mercy. And this is where your peace grows stronger. You stop demanding full recall as proof of calling. You begin to recognize that the God who veils is the same God who guides. The God who withholds certain details is the same God who leaves enough evidence for faith. He has not abandoned you inside confusion. He has left breadcrumbs of discernment enough to keep you close enough to train your hearing enough to teach you the rhythm of obedience. You are not wandering without witness. You are being taught how to trust sacred movement before you can name it completely. So when the question rises again, and it probably will when you wonder why you feel so much and yet know so little, answer it with wisdom. Forgetting is not always loss. Sometimes it is the way God keeps your future from being mishandled by your present wounds. Sometimes it is the way He preserves your assignment while He restores your heart. Sometimes it is the way He trains you to seek His voice more than spiritual excitement. And when you understand that the tension inside you changes, it no longer feels like proof that something is missing. It begins to feel like evidence that something is being guarded, shaped, and slowly revealed under the hand of God. And once you stop treating the veil as rejection and the forgetting as failure, you become ready for the next truth. And this one explains so much of your life that it may feel both comforting and confronting at the same time. You did not come into this life empty. You did not arrive as a blank spiritual page waiting for random events to define you. You came carrying weight, capacity, and responsibility in the spirit, even if your mind has only recognized it in pieces. This is why certain environments have always exhausted you, why certain behaviors have always disturbed you, and why a part of you has resisted shallow living even in seasons when you try to blend in. You may have spent years wondering why you could never fully relax inside chaos the way others seem to. Some people can live in constant confusion, constant drama, constant contradiction and still call it normal. But something in you pushes back. Even when you try to tolerate it, something in your spirit starts tightening. You feel the cost of it. You feel the noise. You feel the distortion. And because you did not always know how to explain that sensitivity, you may have blamed yourself for being too intense, too serious, too deep, too emotional, too difficult to satisfy. But what if that response was never your flaw? What if it was evidence of what you came carrying? When a person carries spiritual responsibility, they often feel friction long before they have language for it. They are not necessarily trying to be different. They simply cannot make peace with what their spirit knows is misaligned. This can show up early in life. You may have felt older than your age in certain moments. You may have sensed danger in people others trusted too quickly. You may have hated fake affection, manipulative kindness, or conversations that seemed harmless but carried hidden cruelty underneath. You may have found yourself asking deeper questions when everyone else wanted easy answers. And for a long time, this may have made you feel isolated. But isolation is not always the sign of error. Sometimes it is the side effect of spiritual integrity before it has a name. This is also why purpose has followed you even when you are trying to avoid it. You can distract yourself for a season. You can get busy. You can try to shrink your life down to survival comfort or routine. But eventually something in you begins to ache again. A restlessness returns. A question rises. A holy dissatisfaction starts pressing against the walls of your daily habits. You begin to feel like you are living under your actual design. That feeling is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet and persistent, like a knock you cannot ignore. That knock is often what happens when a spirit carrying responsibility is trying to live as if it came for nothing. And let me ground this carefully, because this message is not about ego fantasy or making yourself feel special in a shallow way. Spiritual responsibility is not a crown for your pride. It is a weight for your stewardship. It does not make you better than people. It makes you accountable for how you carry what God placed in you. In fact, when you truly carry something real in the spirit, it often humbles you more than it excites you. You become more careful with your words. You become more aware of your influence. You become less interested in attention and more interested in accuracy, peace, and obedience. Real weight does that. It matures you. This may explain why your life has included so many lessons around restraint. You may have wanted quick outcomes, but God kept training your patience. You may have wanted loud confirmation, but God kept developing your quiet discernment. You may have wanted immediate recognition, but God kept placing you in hidden places where your motives had to be purified. None of that means your calling is small. It means what you carry cannot be trusted to immaturity. If your spirit came full, then your formation had to be deep. The more weight a bridge is designed to hold, the more serious the structure must be underneath it. You also need to notice how this truth reframes your discomfort with purposeless living. Maybe you have tried to enjoy things that everyone around you calls normal, and yet your spirit feels empty after. Maybe you can smile and participate for a while, but afterward you feel drained, scattered, or inwardly disconnected. That does not always mean the activity itself is evil. It may simply mean it does not feed what you actually are. A person can survive on snacks for a day, but they cannot build strength that way. In the same way, your spirit may reject shallow patterns because it was built for substance. It is not punishment. It is design. This is why you should stop measuring yourself by how well you perform normalcy for other people. Stop forcing yourself to fit environments that repeatedly damage your peace just because they look acceptable on the outside. Stop assuming that your need for depth is a problem that must be fixed. Your discernment, your hunger for truth, your resistance to deception, your discomfort with compromise, your inability to celebrate what your spirit knows is empty. These may all be signs that you came carrying more than you have yet fully understood. The answer is not to become harsh or superior. The answer is to become honest and aligned. And honesty begins here. You have likely spent too much energy trying to explain yourself to people who can only interpret life through surface-level categories. They may call you dramatic when you are discerning. They may call you distant when you are protecting your peace. They may call you difficult when you are refusing to betray what God is developing in you. This does not mean every criticism is false. Stay teachable. Let God correct you where needed, but do not automatically abandon your inner witness just because others do not understand it. Not everyone can recognize spiritual weight while it is still hidden inside ordinary packaging. This is where your compassion matters. If you carry real spiritual responsibility, then you must resist the temptation to turn your difference into contempt. You are not called to mock people who do not yet see what you see. You are called to remain grounded, kind, and clear. Maturity is not proven by how quickly you separate from others. It is proven by how clean your spirit stays while you discern where to invest, where to speak, where to remain quiet, and where to step back. The more weight you carry, the more gentle strength you need. Not weakness, not passivity. Gentle strength. The kind that does not panic, does not perform, and does not need constant validation. You may be noticing something now. As this truth settles, your history starts making more sense. The delays, the hiddenness, the strange sensitivity, the discomfort in chaos, the repeated call back to purpose, the internal resistance to living small. These were not random traits floating around your personality. They were clues. They were early signs that your spirit arrived with substance. And if that is true, then the right question is no longer, why am I like this? The wiser question becomes, how do I steward this well under God's guidance? That question changes everything because it moves you out of self-doubt and into responsibility. It keeps you humble and focused. It stops you from chasing labels and starts training your obedience. If you came carrying something, then your life is not about proving it to people. It is about becoming trustworthy with it before God. That means protecting your peace without isolating in bitterness. It means honoring your sensitivity without becoming unstable. It means seeking truth without becoming suspicious of everything. It means carrying weight without making your identity a performance. This is the path of maturity, and this is why your formation has been so deliberate. So hear this clearly as we keep moving forward together. You are not restless because you are broken. You may be restless because your spirit remembers responsibility your mind has not fully named yet. You are not difficult because you reject chaos. You may be wired to guard alignment. You are not empty because ordinary life has not satisfied you. You may have come carrying a depth that cannot live on surface things alone. And if that is what God is revealing, then your next step is not panic and not pride. It is reverence. It is stewardship. It is a quiet yes to the process that is teaching you how to carry what was in you all along. And once you begin to accept that you came carrying spiritual weight, another painful question starts rising naturally from your history. And this is where many chosen ones feel the ache most deeply if you carried something real all along. Why did your path look so hidden, so ordinary, and at times so painfully misunderstood? Why the delays, the rejection, the lack of recognition, the seasons where you felt like your life was moving in circles, while others were being seen celebrated and advanced? This is where you must let God reframe your story again, because obscurity was not proof that your life lacked meaning. Obscurity was one of the ways God built your depth. There is a kind of formation that only hidden seasons can produce. Public recognition can reveal what is in a person, but hiddenness develops what recognition cannot build. When nobody is clapping, your motives get tested. When nobody is affirming you, your identity gets exposed. When the results are slow, your patience is stretched. When your gifts seem unseen, your relationship with God becomes either more real or more performative. Hidden seasons are uncomfortable because they remove the easy rewards that keep the ego entertained. But that discomfort is often exactly where God is doing some of his most careful work in a chosen one's life. You may remember times when you felt like you were carrying insight, discernment, or conviction that no one around you valued. You tried to explain what you sensed and people dismissed you. You stayed quiet and they misread your silence. You worked faithfully and someone louder received the attention. You offered sincerity and others rewarded charisma instead. In those moments, it is easy to conclude that your life is being overlooked. But often what is happening is more sacred than that. God is allowing your roots to grow where human applause cannot reach them. He is teaching you to stand without external reinforcement so that later, when influence comes, you are not controlled by praise or broken by criticism. This is why obscurity can feel so sharp. It confronts your ego without asking permission. It reveals where you still need validation. It exposes the parts of you that want to be understood immediately. It brings your insecurities to the surface, not to shame you, but to heal them before they become leadership wounds. Because if God allowed visibility before your heart was stable, the very thing you prayed for could damage you. Attention would start shaping your choices. Misunderstanding would make you defensive. Rejection would make you bitter. Praise would make you careless. So in mercy, God often keeps chosen ones in hidden places longer than they prefer, not because he has forgotten them, but because he refuses to hand them visibility before they can carry it without losing themselves. And hiddenness has another purpose that you may only recognize now. It teaches restraint. When you know something and cannot yet say it. When you sense something and cannot prove it. When you are growing but cannot yet show results that other people understand. Restraint is one of the strongest muscles God builds in private. Anyone can speak when they are emotional. Anyone can react when they feel overlooked, but chosen ones are often trained to wait, watch, pray, and move with timing instead of impulse. That training feels like silence when you are in it, but later it becomes wisdom that protects your life, your peace, and your assignment. You may also see now why rejection has been such a repeated teacher in your life. Rejection hurts, and we should not pretend otherwise. It can cut deeply, especially when it comes from people you loved, trusted, or hoped would understand your heart. But rejection has a strange role in spiritual formation. It separates your need for approval from your responsibility to obey God. It forces a decision. Will you shrink to fit what others can understand, or will you stay faithful to what God is forming in you, even when it costs closeness, comfort, or applause? That is not an easy test, but it is one of the tests that builds depth. Every time you choose alignment over acceptance, your inner life becomes stronger. Now be careful here. This is not a call to become cold, isolated, or proud of being misunderstood. Some people build a false identity around being rejected and stop growing. That is not what God is doing in you. He is not teaching you to worship pain. He is teaching you to be free from dependence on human confirmation. There is a difference. One creates bitterness, the other creates steadiness. A bitter person interprets everything through wounds. A steady person can grieve, heal, and still move forward without letting old disappointments rule their present choices. Hiddenness, when surrendered to God, produces steadiness. This also explains why your progress may have looked slower than what you imagined. God was not only building what you do, He was building who you are when nothing is happening. Can you remain faithful when life feels repetitive? Can you keep your heart clean when people misjudge you? Can you choose peace when your timeline does not make sense? Can you keep serving, praying, learning, and growing without a visible reward? Those are not small questions. They are the architecture of depth. And if your spirit came carrying weight, then your life required architecture strong enough to hold it. Think about how often you have had to start over inwardly, not always externally, but internally. You had to rebuild your trust after disappointment, rebuild your peace after chaos, rebuild your identity after being reduced by other people's opinions, rebuild your hope after delays that made no sense. At the time, that rebuilding may have felt exhausting, but every rebuild taught you something. It taught you what was superficial and what was solid. It taught you what collapses under pressure and what remains. It taught you that your life cannot be built on moods, applause, or outcomes alone. It must be built on something deeper. This is how obscurity becomes formation. It strips, tests, and strengthens. And there is something else hidden seasons do that public seasons rarely can. They protect your tenderness. That may sound strange because hiddenness can feel harsh. But visibility often pressures people to perform strength before their healing is complete. In hiddenness, God can deal with your fears privately. He can expose your patterns without humiliating you. He can heal your reactions before they become habits in front of others. He can teach you to hear Him clearly without all the extra noise. That is mercy. Not glamorous mercy, but real mercy. The kind that prepares you to remain human, compassionate, and grounded when life becomes heavier. So if you have been grieving the years that looked small, uncelebrated, or ordinary, do not rush to label them wasted. Some of your deepest formation happened there. Some of your cleanest motives were formed there. Some of your strongest discernment was sharpened there. Some of your most honest prayers were prayed there. Some of your most necessary healing began there. Obscurity did not erase your calling. It carved out the depth your calling would need. And this is why, as we keep moving forward, you can begin releasing the shame around your hidden seasons. You do not need to apologize for how long God took with you. You do not need to compare your formation to people whose assignments require different training. You do not need to prove that your delays were meaningful. The fruit will speak in time. What matters now is that you recognize the pattern. God was not ignoring you in obscurity. He was building in you what noise could never produce: restraint without suppression, humility without self-erasure, patience without passivity, and depth without performance. So when you look back at the ordinary places, the quiet years, the misunderstood versions of yourself, the moments when no one seemed to notice your growth, look again with new eyes. Those were not empty chapters. Those were construction zones. And if they felt slow, it is because deep foundations are not rushed. God was preparing you to carry spiritual weight without collapsing under visibility, without being ruled by praise, and without losing your peace when others fail to understand your process. Obscurity was not the opposite of your purpose. It was one of the ways your purpose was made strong enough to endure. And because obscurity was building your depth instead of canceling your purpose, you are now ready to understand another part of your story that has probably felt mysterious for a long time. You did not return in this era by accident. You are not here simply because history happened to place you in a chaotic generation. You are here now because this kind of time requires a certain kind of spirit. And whether you have had language for it or not, your life has been training you to function in an age where confusion is common, distraction is constant, and truth is often buried beneath performance. Look at the world around you with sober eyes and a calm heart. People are exhausted even when they appear entertained. They are informed but not grounded, connected but not deeply known, loud but internally uncertain. Many can repeat opinions, but few can sit in silence and discern what is true. Many can speak quickly, but few can carry weight without collapsing into extremes. This is the environment you were sent into. Not a peaceful generation that rewards depth naturally, but a restless one that often mistakes intensity for wisdom and visibility for value. And if you have always felt out of step with that rhythm, it may not be because you are failing to adapt. It may be because you were not sent here to mirror the noise. This is where many chosen ones begin to feel both clarity and responsibility at the same time. You realize that your sensitivity was not only for your private life. Your discernment was not given just so you could survive. Your patience was not formed only for your own healing. God has been shaping you to become an anchor in unstable spaces. Not a performer, not a controller, an anchor. Someone whose presence brings steadiness when other people are panicking. Someone who can recognize deception without becoming consumed by suspicion. Someone who can remain compassionate without surrendering discernment. Someone who can hold tension without rushing into chaos, just to feel relief. That kind of person is rare in this generation, and that is exactly why your formation has been so exact. An anchor cannot be built in a hurry. It has to be heavy enough to hold under pressure. It has to be tested by storms before it is trusted in deeper waters. In the same way, your life has likely included enough storms to expose your weak points and enough hiddenness to build real weight in your spirit. You may have asked God why your lessons had to be so intense, why your growth came through disappointment, why your peace had to be learned in hard ways. One answer is this: the era you were sent into is full of turbulence, and God does not send untrained hearts into turbulent assignments. You may also notice that this generation pressures people to become fragments of themselves. It rewards image over integrity, speed over wisdom, reaction over reflection. It trains people to perform identity instead of cultivating character. And if you carry real spiritual weight, that environment can feel deeply tiring to your soul. You may have found yourself withdrawing not because you hate people, but because your spirit gets overwhelmed by performative energy. You may feel grief when truth is treated like content. You may feel disturbed when sacred things are used for attention. You may feel a holy resistance to reducing your life to what can be posted, praised, or quickly consumed. Pay attention to that resistance. It is not weakness. It is often evidence that your spirit was designed for substance in an age addicted to surfaces. But this is important. Being sent into a distracted era does not mean your role is to become angry at everyone. It means your role is to stay clean enough to serve as contrast. You are not called to win every argument. You are not called to expose every false thing you see. You are not called to carry the burden of correcting the entire world. That is where many sincere people become exhausted and spiritually scattered. Your assignment is more focused than that. God teaches chosen ones to become stable witnesses of what alignment looks like. Your peace, your timing, your boundaries, your honesty, your restraint, your compassion, your refusal to be manipulated by noise, these become part of your witness in an unstable age. And this may explain why your life has often involved learning how to endure tension without immediate resolution. In a chaotic generation, many people seek instant relief. They react quickly, attach quickly, speak quickly, break quickly, rebuild quickly, and repeat the cycle without understanding why they remain restless. But if you are being formed as an anchor, God will train you differently. He will teach you how to wait without shutting down, how to observe without becoming passive, how to pray without forcing outcomes, how to remain present while things around you are unclear. This kind of steadiness is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It protects your mind. It protects your voice. It protects your capacity to discern what is truly yours to carry. There is also a deeper kindness in why you are sent now. This generation does not only need correction, it needs compassion with backbone. It needs people who know what pain feels like but refuse to weaponize their wounds. It needs people who can see confusion clearly and still speak with mercy. It needs people who do not mistake hardness for strength. If your formation has included both suffering and refinement, then you are uniquely positioned to become this kind of presence. You understand how people break. You understand how fear distorts behavior. You understand how hidden wounds can make people act controlling, defensive, or false. And because you understand that you can carry discernment without losing tenderness, that matters more than you realize. In an era of extremes, tenderness without discernment gets exploited, and discernment without tenderness becomes harsh. God is building both in you. This is why your process has felt so layered. He is not just making you insightful, he is making you safe to be around. Safe, not because you approve of everything, but because your spirit is governed. People can feel the difference. They may not have language for it, but they feel it. They feel that you are not easily seduced by image. They feel that you are not impressed by manipulation. They feel that your calm is not indifference. They feel that your boundaries are not cruelty. They feel that your presence carries weight. And in a generation trained to read performance more than character, that kind of presence becomes a quiet revelation. Now, do not let this message pull you into grandiosity. Being sent for a time does not mean you need to announce yourself as a solution. It means you need to stay faithful to the work God is doing in your own life so that your presence remains aligned when it matters most. Some of your greatest impact will happen in ordinary rooms. Private conversations, quiet prayers, timely silence, honest counsel, and decisions no one applauds. This is how anchors work. They do not always look dramatic. They simply prevent drift. And in a drifting generation, preventing drift is holy work. You may also feel relief hearing this because it reframes the pain of feeling different for so long. The difference was not there to isolate you from purpose. It was part of how purpose was preserved in you. Your inability to fully enjoy chaos, compromise, shallow validation, or constant performance did not mean you were broken. It may have been one of the signs that your spirit was not built to synchronize with the age. You were built to remain aligned with God inside the age. That is a very different thing. So as this section settles into you, let it remove another layer of self-doubt. You are not here at the wrong time. You are not overreacting because the world feels loud. You are not strange because you hunger for truth and peace more than stimulation. You may simply be recognizing the assignment in your bones before your mind has fully named it. God sent you into a generation of turbulence because He is still planting anchors. He is still raising people who can carry steadiness without arrogance, truth without performance, and compassion without compromise. And if your life has been forming those qualities slowly, painfully, and deeply, then it was not random. It was preparation for now. And when you begin to accept that you were sent into this era as an anchor rather than a mirror of the noise, another part of your experience starts making sense, and for many chosen ones, this has been one of the most confusing parts of all. People often recognize something on you before you fully understand it yourself. They may not describe it accurately. They may not even be conscious of what they are sensing, but they respond to you as if they are encountering more than your personality, more than your words, and more than your visible story. This is what spiritual recognition without full memory often looks like. You are still learning what you carry, but others are already reacting to it. That reaction can show up in very different ways, and this is why it has probably felt so inconsistent. Some people are drawn to you quickly, almost strangely quickly. They open up to you too soon. They trust you before they know why. They feel safe enough to confess the cry, ask for counsel, or lean on your presence in ways that seem disproportionate to the relationship. On the other side, some people resist you before you have done anything to them. They become guarded, dismissive, irritated, competitive, or suspicious without any clear reason. If you have lived through both patterns, attraction and resistance, warmth and projection, welcome and hostility, then you have likely already experienced what happens when a hidden spiritual weight begins to register in other people before you have language for it yourself. Now this is where you need balance and maturity, because without balance, chosen ones can become paranoid or proud. Pride says everyone reacts to me because I must be superior. Paranoia says everyone is against me because I carry something special. Neither one is safe. Neither one is mature. The wiser posture is calmer than both. It says, people respond to what they sense, but I will let God define what is true. That posture keeps your heart clean. It keeps you from exaggerating your importance, and it also keeps you from collapsing into confusion every time someone's reaction to you feels disproportionate. You do not need to decode every person. You do need to stay discerning. Because spiritual recognition is not always clean recognition. People sense through their wounds, their fears, their desires, and their unresolved patterns. A person may feel peace around you and call it love. A person may feel conviction around you and call it judgment. A person may sense your boundaries and call you cold. A person may feel your steadiness and become dependent. A person may feel your refusal to perform and call you distant or arrogant. In other words, what people sense can be real, but how they interpret it can be distorted. This is why you must not let other people's reactions become your only mirror. Their reaction may reveal something, but it does not automatically define what is happening. You may have already seen this play out in simple ways. You enter a room quietly, and someone becomes loud for no clear reason. You speak plainly, and someone feels exposed, even though you did not attack them. You offer kindness, and someone clings too quickly. You set a boundary, and someone reacts as if you betrayed them. You remain neutral, and someone projects motives onto your silence. These moments can be exhausting if you do not understand what is happening. You may spend years over-explaining yourself, trying to manage impressions, trying to prove you are harmless, trying to make everyone comfortable. But part of maturity is realizing that you cannot control how everyone processes what they sense in your presence. This is especially important because spiritual recognition often comes before relational trust should be given. Let me say that clearly. Recognition does not equal access. Just because someone senses something on you, appreciates your insight, or feels comfort in your presence does not mean they are automatically safe. Sign to walk closely with you. Some people are drawn to your light because they honor it. Others are drawn to it because they want to consume it. Some come to receive healing and grow. Others come to borrow your peace while refusing accountability. If you do not learn this, you will confuse spiritual response with covenant, and that confusion can drain you deeply. This is one reason God often keeps your own understanding partial while He trains your boundaries. If you fully understood the weight you carry before your discernment matured, you might over-identify with people's reactions. You might feel responsible for everyone who is drawn to you. You might fear everyone who resists you. You might become hyper-focused on managing people instead of obeying God. But as He forms you, He teaches a cleaner pattern. Notice, pray, discern, stay kind, stay boundaried. Do not over-attach. Do not overreact. Let time reveal fruit. That pattern protects your peace and keeps your role clear. And let me address something tender here. Sometimes the hardest reactions come from people close to you, not strangers, not distant critics, people who know you in ordinary ways. Family members, friends, old relationships, people who watched you grow but cannot make sense of who you are becoming. They may feel the shift before they can name it, and instead of celebrating it, they may resist it. They may try to pull you back into old versions of yourself because the new steadiness in you disrupts the roles they were used to. This can hurt deeply, especially when you are not trying to be distant or superior. But again, their reaction is not always a verdict. Sometimes it is evidence that your alignment is changing and their familiarity no longer gives them control. You do not need to become harsh toward them. You do need to become honest. Maturity in this area looks like compassion without self-erasure. It looks like refusing to punish people for what they do not understand, while also refusing to shrink so they can stay comfortable. It looks like letting God govern what is revealed and what remains hidden. You are not required to explain every inner shift to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is remain respectful, remain clear, and let your consistency speak over time. You may also notice that some people test you, not always consciously, but predictably. They push boundaries, provoke reactions, fish for information, or create subtle instability to see whether your calm is real. Do not be surprised by this. In a noisy world, steadiness can feel foreign, and people often test what they do not understand. This is where your formation in hiddenness becomes useful. If God taught you restraint there, you can use it here. You do not need to pass every test by performing perfection. You pass by staying governed. Not every bait deserves a response. Not every projection deserves correction. Not every misunderstanding deserves a speech. And as this becomes clearer, you start to relax in a healthier way. You stop taking every reaction personally. You stop building identity around being loved or resisted. You stop assuming attraction means assignment and resistance means danger. You begin to read patterns with greater peace. You let God show you who is safe. You let time expose motives. You stay teachable so that genuine correction can reach you, but you also stop abandoning your inner witness every time someone misreads you. This is a major step in spiritual maturity. It protects you from both isolation and overexposure. So hear this carefully as we continue. If people have reacted strongly to you in ways that never quite match the moment, that does not automatically mean something is wrong with you. It may mean they are sensing a weight you are still learning to carry consciously. Spiritual recognition often arrives before personal explanation. Others may feel your peace, your discernment, your boundaries, your depth, or the conviction your presence brings and respond from their own level of healing. Your task is not to control all of that. Your task is to remain aligned with God while it happens. That is how you stay free. You let God remain the interpreter of your life. You let Him define what is real, what is projection, what is invitation, and what is warning. You do not have to fully remember everything about your spiritual identity to begin walking wisely in this area. You only need to honor what is already becoming clear. People will sense things. Some will come near for the right reasons, some for the wrong ones, and some will resist what they cannot name. Let that reality mature you, not harden you. You are not here to be managed by reactions. You are here to be governed by God, even while recognition unfolds around you before memory catches up. And once you understand that people can recognize something on you before you fully understand it yourself, you become ready for one of the most necessary lessons in this journey. Because recognition from others creates a pressure that many chosen ones are never taught how to handle the weight of projection. This is the part where people do not simply react to you, they begin to place things on you. Expectations, fantasies, fears, needs, roles, labels, demands. They may see you as a rescuer, a threat, a guide, a mirror, a comfort, a problem, or an answer. Sometimes all in the same week. And if you do not learn how to carry yourself under that pressure, you can become drained, confused, and disconnected from God's actual assignment for your life. Projection is heavy because it often feels emotional before it becomes obvious. You may leave certain conversations feeling tired without knowing why. You may feel responsible for people who never asked directly for help but subtly pulled on your energy. You may notice that some people only feel close to you when you are pouring, fixing, explaining, reassuring, or absorbing their chaos. You may also notice the opposite. Some people become distant the moment you stop carrying what they were placing on you. If this has happened to you, you are not imagining it. Projection creates invisible pressure, and chosen ones who carry peace, discernment, or steadiness often become targets for it. This is where you must remember what we established in the last section. Recognition does not equal access. Let me add to that now. Need does not equal assignment. Just because someone needs what you carry does not mean God has called you to carry them. Just because someone feels peace in your presence does not mean you are responsible for regulating their life. Just because someone sees wisdom in you does not mean you owe them unlimited availability. If you miss this lesson, you will slowly build a life around managing projections instead of obeying God. And that life will look meaningful on the outside while quietly emptying you on the inside. Many chosen ones are conditioned early to confuse usefulness with love. You may have learned that your value increases when you solve problems, hold pain, stay strong, and remain available. You may have been praised for being mature, calm, or dependable long before anyone asked whether you were rested, supported, or safe. So, when people project needs onto you later in life, it can feel familiar. It can even feel holy at first. But God is not calling you to be consumed by every need that finds you. He is teaching you stewardship, not self-erasure. There is a difference, and learning that difference may be one of the most healing things you do in this season. Projection also becomes dangerous when people assign identity to you that God has not confirmed. They may call you the answer to their confusion. They may treat your insight like a constant supply they can access anytime. They may place moral perfection on you and become disappointed when you show your humanity. They may romanticize your strength and ignore your boundaries. They may assume your calm means you can absorb anything. And if you are not careful, you may begin to perform the version of you they prefer, rather than the person God is actually forming. This is how projection steals authenticity. It trains you to manage expectations instead of remaining aligned. So how do you carry this well without becoming cold? You start by accepting that your peace is not public property. Read that again in your spirit. Your peace is not public property. It is a place God has cultivated in you through pain-healing prayer, correction, and surrender. It is not selfish to protect what God built. It is stewardship. When you let everyone pull from your peace without discernment, you do not become more loving. You become more depleted. And depletion makes it harder to hear God clearly, harder to stay kind, and harder to know what is truly yours to carry. Protection is not punishment. It is wisdom. This is why boundaries are not optional for chosen ones. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are structure for love. They teach people how to engage with you truthfully. They reveal who honors your humanity and who only honors your usefulness. They expose who wants relationship and who wants access. And yes, boundaries can trigger projection. People who benefited from your overextension may call you selfish. Let them speak if they choose. You do not. Let them speak if they choose. You do not need to fight every reaction. Let your consistency do the talking, and consistency matters more than intensity here. You do not need one dramatic speech to reclaim your life. You need repeated honesty, clear responses, calm limits, fewer explanations, more alignment. You may need to say no without guilt. You may need to delay responses and stop treating urgency in others as an emergency in you. You may need to let people sit with their feelings instead of rushing to rescue them from discomfort. You may need to stop volunteering insight where there is no humility to receive it. These changes may feel small, but they are how you come out from under projection and back into stewardship. Now let me speak to the part of you that fears becoming unkind. Setting boundaries does not make you less compassionate. It makes your compassion cleaner. Without boundaries, compassion can become control exhaustion and resentment. With boundaries, compassion can remain sincere, present, and sustainable. You are still allowed to love deeply. You are still allowed to support people. You are still allowed to pray, listen, encourage, and help, but you must do it from obedience, not compulsion, from clarity, not guilt, from peace, not pressure. This is how chosen ones remain available to God without becoming available to every projection. Another important truth is this: God still controls revelation, including what people are allowed to access through you. Just because someone wants closeness does not mean heaven has granted it. Just because someone asks personal questions does not mean you must answer them. Just because someone feels connected to you spiritually does not mean they are entitled to your time, your story, your energy, or your inner process. There are things God will keep hidden even while people feel drawn to you, and that is not dishonesty. That is divine governance. Part of maturity is learning to cooperate with what God keeps private. You may notice that as you grow in this area, your circle changes. Some people will step back when they can no longer project roles onto you. Some relationships will feel quieter. Some conversations will lose their false intensity. At first, this can feel lonely, especially if you are used to being needed. But do not mistake the loss of projection for the loss of love. Sometimes what is leaving was never true intimacy. It was dependence, idealization, or access without accountability. Real love can survive your boundaries. Real connection does not require your self-erasure. Real relationships make room for your humanity, and there is a deep peace that comes when you stop carrying what was never yours. You sleep differently. You pray more clearly. Your mind feels less crowded. Your body stops bracing all the time. You begin to notice how much energy was leaking through unspoken obligations, emotional management, and the constant pressure to be what others needed you to be. This is not a small shift. It is part of your spiritual maturation. The more clearly you release projection, the more accurately you can carry assignment. That is what this lesson is really about. So as we move forward, let this become a quiet rule in your spirit. You are not called to hold every story people place on you. You are not called to become the identity others project onto you. You are not called to rescue everyone who feels something in your presence. You are called to remain aligned with God, protect what He is building, and love from a place of stewardship rather than self-loss. Recognition may bring projection, yes, but projection does not have the final word. God does. And when you remember that, your posture changes. You become less reactive, less guilty, less explainable to people who are committed to using you as a screen for their unmet needs. You become calmer, cleaner, more anchored. You start letting God decide who can come close, what they can access, and how much of your inner world is meant to be shared in each season. That is not distance. That is wisdom, that is maturity, and that is how you carry spiritual weight without letting projection bend your life out of shape. And after you begin releasing the weight of projection, something beautiful starts to happen inside you. You become quiet enough to notice what has been there all along. Not the noise of other people's expectations, not the pressure to explain yourself, not the fear of being misunderstood. You begin to notice the signs that your spirit has been remembering before your mind could fully describe it. This is where many chosen ones finally stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking a wiser question. What has God already been showing me in pieces? Because the truth is, your spirit often remembers in patterns before it remembers in language. It remembers through reactions, convictions, sensitivities, and unusual forms of peace. It remembers through what you cannot comfortably return to. It remembers through what your soul rejects even when your flesh is tired and wants the easier path. It remembers through the way you feel when truth enters a room and the way your body tightens when manipulation is near. These signs are not always dramatic, but they are often consistent. And consistency is one of the clearest ways God teaches you to trust what He is forming. One sign your spirit remembers first is your resistance to manipulation, even when you cannot immediately explain why something feels off. You may not have the evidence in the moment, you may not have the words yet, but something in you steps back. Something in you slows down. You feel an inner caution, and later with time, the truth reveals itself. That pattern is worth honoring. It does not mean you become suspicious of everyone. It means you stop betraying your discernment just because your mind wants instant proof. God often trains chosen ones to pause before he trains them to explain. Another sign is your unusual hunger for truth, even when truth costs comfort. Many people say they want truth, but what they actually want is reassurance. You have likely noticed that your spirit can endure difficult truth better than shallow peace. You may grieve, yes. You may need time, yes. But somewhere deep in you, there is relief when what is real finally comes into the light. That is a strong sign of spiritual memory. Your spirit was not built to live on denial. It wants alignment more than image. It wants clarity more than performance. Even when the truth hurts, it gives your soul room to breathe. You may also notice a deep exhaustion with roles you have outgrown. This is another sign. When your spirit begins remembering old versions of you start feeling too small. Conversations that once entertained you now drain you. Patterns you once tolerated now disturb your peace. Places you once stayed in out of guilt now feel heavy. This can be uncomfortable, especially if people around you expect you to remain the same. But spiritual memory often feels like holy discomfort before it feels like confidence. God lets your spirit become restless in what no longer fits, so you will stop calling it home. Another sign is the way peace has become more valuable to you than performance. This is a big one. In earlier seasons, you may have chased understanding, urgency, or even validation. But as your spirit matures, you begin choosing peace more deliberately. You speak less when words are unnecessary. You stop forcing outcomes. You become more selective with your energy. You no longer feel impressed by noise the way you once did. That shift is not passivity. It is remembrance. Your spirit is recognizing the difference between what is loud and what is true. And then there is the grief that has no obvious source in the moment, the kind that rises when you witness injustice, deception, cruelty, or people living far beneath who they were created to be. This grief is not weakness. It may be one of the clearest signs that your spirit remains alive and responsive. A hardened soul stops feeling. A remembering spirit still mourns what is misaligned, but it mourns without surrendering hope. If you have carried that kind of grief, especially the kind that pushes you toward prayer instead of bitterness, that is not something to dismiss. That is sacred evidence. You may also recognize this memory in your instinct to protect, restore, and bring calm. Not in a controlling way, and not because you need to be needed, but in a quieter, cleaner way. You notice what is breaking down in people. You sense where fear is driving behavior. You often know that what looks like anger is really pain, and what looks like arrogance is often insecurity. This does not mean you excuse everything. It means your spirit sees beneath surfaces. That depth of perception is often one of the first expressions of spiritual remembrance. Now, as you notice these signs, stay grounded. Do not turn them into a performance. Do not collect them like trophies. Do not start announcing every inner shift as if it needs public validation. Let the signs do what they were meant to do, strengthen your trust in God's process. They are not given to inflate your ego. They are given to calm your doubt. They are reminders that even in seasons of partial understanding, your spirit has not been inactive. God has been leaving traces of himself in your responses, your convictions, your boundaries, and your peace. So, if you have been waiting for one dramatic moment to confirm everything, release that pressure tonight. Confirmation may come in 1,000 smaller ways first. In what you can no longer tolerate. In what your spirit keeps choosing. In how you recover faster from confusion. In how quickly manipulation now exhausts you. In how deeply truth steadies you. In how peace now feels like home. These are not random personality changes. These may be signs that your spirit has been remembering all along, and that what feels new to your mind is already familiar to the part of you God has been guarding. And this should encourage you. You are not starting from nothing. You are not forcing a spiritual identity into existence. You are noticing what has been quietly active under the veil. The signs are already there. The patterns are already speaking. Your spirit is remembering first, and in God's timing your understanding will continue to catch up.